Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. April has been a very dry month in much of the UK. Around here, where I live in Berkhamsted, only 14.6 millimetres of rain has fallen. So the April showers have been distinctly lacking this year. How are things looking as we head through the next 2 weeks and into May? I'll begin by taking a look at the view across Europe and the North Atlantic. The animation runs from 18 GMT, Tuesday the 26th. It's using data from the Canadian global model. At the outset, high pressure continues to dominate things, so it's dry in most of the UK, but with it being centred to the north there, winds are coming in from a northeasterly direction, so it's not particularly warm for the time of year, particularly through the nights where the risk of frost has been continuing recently. Now, in the short term, not a great deal changes. The high pressure, if anything, just slips a little bit further southwards, so there will be a good deal of dry weather. Cloud amounts vary. But then, as we head through the weekend, a small area of low pressure pushes in from the Atlantic. It brings the potential for outbreaks of rain, and through Sunday, those slip away southwards. They become patchier. But then as we go through Bank Holiday Monday, colder air begins to move down from the north, and there could be some showery rain around then too. But the details are uncertain. I'll come back to that in a moment. Taking a look at the temperatures through the course of the week, just some sample charts here actually from the GFS model. 06 GMT, Thursday the 28th, these are minimums, down to or slightly below freezing point in places, a widespread frost. So even in parts of southern Britain, the potential for frost is continuing. Not good news for gardeners and farmers, I think. During the days, there will be some fluctuations. 15 GMT, Friday the 29th, 14s, 15s, 16s across the UK. Going forwards to Sunday the 1st of May. Remember, at this point, there's uncertainty about that rain moving down from the north. The GFS times it a little bit differently to the Canadian model, but the temperatures here, 17s, 18s in central and eastern England, a little bit cooler there in the northwest. Just taking a look at the MOGREPS 2-metre temperature forecasts through the first week. This chart is for London. They dip a little bit there on the 27th, so early on, and a gradual climb through the days which follow, but nothing unusual for the time of year. And it's also just worth noting that there's quite a dip through the night, so a big diurnal variation being shown, indicating that ongoing possibility, especially in rural areas, of frost. Going up to Glasgow, very, very similar picture there. There is an upwards trend through the first few days, but that big day to night variation again showing up. Rainfall. With high pressure dominating, at least in the short term, there will be a good deal of dry weather around. And these accumulated precipitation charts for days 0 to 5 from the ECM model on the left and the GFS on the right reflect that. Totals of 0 millimetres in much of the UK. Moving forwards to the 0 to 10-day period, though, and things have changed significantly. The rain totals have increased quite substantially. The distribution, according to the two models, varies, so there is some uncertainty, of course, but I think a significant amount of the rain which is being shown here could well be associated with that area of low pressure which moves southwards through late Saturday and Sunday. So, how about the early May bank holiday? At the time of filming, it's still too early to be confident about the details. I will bring up a few charts though. Here's the Canadian model, 15 GMT, Monday the 2nd. It has outbreaks of rain in the northeast pushing southwards. Ahead of them, it's a dry picture as it is to their north, perhaps just an odd shower developing. At the same time, the GFS, this one has rain in southern England, an odd shower in the north, but mostly dry picture there across central and northern parts of the UK. The temperatures associated with that Warmest in the far south, so along southern coastal counties and Wales, southwestern England, northwestern parts of Britain and Northern Ireland, 14s, 15s perhaps. In the northeast, though, it's distinctly chilly, maximums of 7 or 8 Celsius. All in all, not especially warm anywhere. Temperatures particularly disappointing in the northeast. In places where sunny spells develop, though, it would feel pleasant at this time of year. The sun is very strong, of course, certainly in the afternoons. Rain, well, I think a lot of places may well end up with a dry day, but there will be probably some rain around in places. Not possible to be sure just whereabouts those will be at this time. Okay, well, on to the end of the first week, and do the deterministic models basically agree with each other, or have they all gone off in different directions? First of all, the GFS model, Tuesday the 3rd, high pressure centred to the west, to the northwest, and that northerly influence continuing. The Canadian, at the same time, it's very similar. The German icon perhaps a little bit different here, with signs of the high pressure beginning to move away southwards. The European ECM, broadly similar again. And finally, the UK Met Office Global. 1 or 2 differences, but the general theme is a very similar one, with high pressure centred to the west. The key takeout here really is that high pressure continues to have a good deal of influence going into the end of the first week and the second week, but it's not centred in the ideal location for warm weather. It's to the west and to the north, which brings cooler conditions at this time of year. If it was winter, of course, would be the potential for it to be very cold indeed. Will high pressure continue to be the dominant feature of the weather through week 2, or is a change on the way? As ever, it's all about trends and probabilities, and I'll start with the 16-day GEFS plot for London. Across the top, air mass temperatures I've annotated as fluctuating around the average. The thick purple line remains close to the thick black line throughout. That's the ensemble mean and the 30-year norm. There is quite a wide range of solutions which develops. Not as great though as on some recent updates. The warmest up to about 7 Celsius, the coldest ones down to about -7. And they do tend to be moving up and down rather than locking in colder or warmer air masses. Rain across the bottom I'll come back to in a moment, but there are some spikes there throughout. Going up to Glasgow, not really a great deal here to say about the air mass profile because it's similar to the London one, albeit at a slightly lower level. Well, I said I'd just come back to the rainfall. Here's the data table for London. Each column shows the rain forecasts from all of the individual runs. The key points to note really are that light grey indicates completely dry, dark grey just light rain. The heavier amounts of rain are shown by the purples, blues, greens, etc., etc. And through the second week, most of the runs continue to be light grey or dark grey. There isn't really a great deal of change in the pattern until the very end, perhaps, when more of the yellows, greens and blues start to show up. Perhaps, therefore, just at the very end, a transition to significantly wetter conditions would be there would be a chance of that. But through most of the period, there could be some rain around. That was indicated by the spikes on the earlier chart, but the totals do not appear to be great. A lot of dry conditions through this time, I would expect, if the data is on the right track. Okay, it's a wetter picture here in Glasgow. Purples, blues, greens, yellows, but still even here, there is a lot of light grey and dark grey, and it continues as we head through that second week. Probably drier than average, but in the northwest, wetter than in the southeast. The profile is what you would expect, but the amounts are lower than the norm. 2-metre temperatures for London. The orange column, the light orange, maximums are 16 to 20 Celsius. It's a little bit difficult to see the darker oranges. There isn't a great deal of contrast. Those are 21 to 25 Celsius. Throughout then, most of the runs really are favouring this average level of temperatures, 16 to 20 Celsius. Some in the 11 to 15 there, 1 or 2 cooler ones. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Up to Glasgow, more of the 6 to 10 Celsius runs, a lot of the 11 to 15s and a smaller number of 16s to 20s, cooler in the northwest. Looking at the mean surface level pressure data table for York, on balance through the first few days at least, yellows and oranges. The yellows are close to or above average pressure, oranges above, therefore higher than average pressure looks like continuing at least until the very end. But the amount of green then does increase quite significantly. By the 11th, 50% of the runs from the green category, 996 to 1010 millibars. One of the runs is going for a very deep area of low pressure, 981 to 995 millibars. That's the blue, which you can see just at the very end. I think it's pointing towards high pressure really continuing to be dominant for much of the time, but perhaps towards the very, very end, finally, a significant change could be starting to appear. The GEFS ensemble mean pressure forecast for Friday the 6th shows high pressure being influential. Perhaps a change of note, though, is there are more signs of it being centred to the southwest, lower pressure maybe up to the north, to the northwest, a transition to a more typical pattern as that high latitude blocking high pressure to the north of the UK starts to be eroded. At least that's the theory. And the ECM at the same time shows something similar, high pressure having a good deal of influence, perhaps stronger still to the northwest than the GEFS points towards. A good deal of uncertainty, of course, at this range. The anomaly chart from the GEFS for days 10 to 15 continues to have a strong positive anomaly to the northwest, Iceland there, Greenland here, a negative anomaly over Scandinavia. Those point towards higher than average pressure to the northwest of the UK, but because this is taken over the 10 to 15 day period, it wouldn't necessarily be showing that trend towards the very end for high pressure to maybe be sinking southwards and a more typical pattern returning as the high latitude blocking finally begins to ease and a more typical, as I say, flow develops. So, to summarise, week 1, there will be a few showers around through the initial part of the period, but it should be mainly dry with variable amounts of cloud. Cold nights lead to an ongoing risk of frost. Even southern Britain doesn't escape it. But in sunny spells, it will be feeling pleasantly warm. Through the 30th of April and the 1st of May, there is a risk of outbreaks of rain spreading southwards. Week 2, perhaps more changeable at times, particularly towards the very end, but overall it looks not very wet. A good deal of dry periods through the second week. Temperatures close to the average, probably still that chance of chilly nights, but the frost risk should be receding by then. So, there we have it. High pressure, often centred to the west, to the north of the UK, continues to have a lot of influence, at least through the first week, 10 days. Signs towards the very end that the high latitude blocking will start to be eroded. That would lead to a more typical pattern returning. High pressure may be becoming centred to the southwest, close to the Azores, and warmer conditions possibly would then follow. It would also increase the chance of rain, especially in the north. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, then please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thanks now. Bye.